Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon to all. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahando sallallahu ala Rasulil Kareem. Today I am presenting, and the topic given to me is best practices of food safety and quality management in seafood, meat, and various food products, including poultry products. So let's move further. I'm from Safa. I represent the family of Safa. It's having many brands, as you're all aware of it. Safa is our flagship brand. Taibat, Khairat, Al Yaqeen, Ikhtiyari, these are our other brands. We are having our poultry farm in Tamrit, which is near Salala, and we are having our factories in Muscat, and our corporate office also in Muscat. Yeah. So, moving on to my topic, I will try to resonate the same thing what my earlier speaker, distinguished speaker, has spoken about, because it falls in the same line. However, I will try to make it very simple to assimilate, because I understand that it's already 2 o'clock and everybody might be fasting. So let's go in a very simple manner, very articulated manner. What I'm talking actually, the content comprises of only 3 things. One is the introduction of good manufacturing or best manufacturing practices. What are the components of these good manufacturing practices, and how to start? Now, the how to start I have put in the end of my presentation. So because it's very important how to start, so I put it in the end of my presentation. Let's move to the introduction part. In the introduction, let's start what are the best practices for the food manufacturing. The definition is the best practices are the basic operational and environmental condition producing safe food. So the operational and environmental conditions. Operational means what we do, how we do, and environmental condition surrounding us, our premises, so what we are having basically. So it's a combination of operational and environment condition. It applies to all food ingredients, the ingredients which make your food. It applies to your product, and most importantly, it applies to even your packaging. Although packaging is most of the time is neglected, but packaging also plays a very important role here. Good manufacturing practice or the best practices addresses all hazards. So when I say hazard or the difficulties, the contaminations, the physical type of contamination, the chemical, the biological, microbiological, even the coronavirus could be considered as a hazard actually. And in some industries, there are radiation hazards. So all hazards are covered properly by the best practices. If the best practices are in place, you are controlling all your hazards in an effective manner. Best manufacturing practices provide a very good foundation for an effective implementation of food safety system like HACCP. You have already listened to the nice presentation by distinguished speaker, Ms. Richards, about HACCP actually. So best manufacturing practices provide you a best platform or a foundation for implementation of HACCP, which is a food safety system. Let's move further. Now, what is the scope of best manufacturing practices? Best manufacturing practices talk about the environmental conditions, the environmental control, the premises, the location, the design, and the construct of building and the interior. This all in total comprises the prerequisite program of HACCP. So the scope of best manufacturing practices or best hygiene practice start from the premises itself. Then it moves further, the personal practices. How is the personal hygiene? How are the practices of hand washing, the uniforms, the clothing? How is the movement on the floor? How is the access control? These all personal practices also comprises one of the important program. This is also the scope of best practices. Moving further, equipment maintenance recall and traceability, water safety, these are also included in the best manufacturing practices. So after the introduction, let's go to the second important element, which is the component. Component means how this good manufacturing, the best manufacturing comprises of. What are the constituents of it? So there are two components. So to make it more simple and very easy to assimilate, very easy to understand, I put it in a two distinct component. One is written program and another part is the implementation. So whatever you do, you have to have a written program about your policies, your procedures, your SOPs, your SSOPs, your quality procedures, monitoring procedures, record keeping. So these all procedures need to be having a proper documentation. You need to start writing it in a very simple and easy to understand manner. Here, let me share with you one of our experience. In the beginning, we started with a very verbose, very high standard, sophisticated language adapted from UK and USA. But when we implemented on ground, we found it very difficult. People were not familiar with that kind of verbose and lexicon of the language, and they were finding it difficult to follow it. So what we did over a period of time with systematic revision, we tried to make it more simple. On the other hand, we also tried to make the things simple to follow. We did actually what we could have done. Like we have not taken ambitious, very extra ambitious target for ourselves, which were difficult to follow at the shop floor level. We started with a very simple, minimal procedures, policies, although those are confining to the standards, like bare minimum standards, which are required prerequisite for qualifying for HACCP or qualifying for ISO 20000. So we started with the simple things, and the simple thing got very well understood by the staff, and then they were able to follow. So first part is the written program, and the second part is implementation. Implementation is where you are actually conducting in compliance with these written documents. Now, how to achieve it? This is possible by training and training. So why I am emphasizing on training, as Richard also said, training plays a very vital role. It opens the minds of the people actually. People coming from different background, they understand the gist, they understand what is expected out of it through a rigorous training program. Training can be formal, it can be like, you can have an outsourced party which can impart a professional training. At the same time, I play a very, I consider the internal trainings are very much important, and their role is more than the external training. Apart from that, when a manager talks to his subordinate and a line manager, and the line manager talks to an operator, the dialogue between them also is a sort of a training. The training goes unnoticed, So when they talk to each other, when they explain the nature of the work, this is also a sort of informal training, which plays a very important role here. Plus, more importantly, training plays a very vital role in opening the minds, in opening the horizons. Plus, it imparts a teamwork among them, among the staff at shop floor level. I remember long back, actually, I asked one of our shop floor employees, what do you understand by the teamwork? So he said, teamwork is like you cover my mistake and I cover your mistakes. So I told him, no, this is not the teamwork. In teamwork, you need to correct the mistakes of others, and at the same time, the others will correct your mistakes. So this is the way it has to move forward. Plus the peer pressure, when supervision is not adequate, you are operating the plant 24 hours a day. Night time, nobody, like suppose the proper supervision is not there. The peer pressure, when each person is looking after other person, in that kind of atmosphere, the peer pressure or supervision of each other and governing by the conscious plays a very vital role here. what we say, like what was bil haqqi, what was bis sabr, so we need to talk about, and always teach other, what is the good practices and how it has to be followed across the plant and across their daily routine life. Secondly, the most important part is the monitoring. Monitoring procedures are playing a very crucial role here. Once the program is in place, you need to have an effective monitoring mechanism. Monitoring mechanism can be planned as well as unplanned. Planned, why I'm saying planned? Because sometimes you need to give a consideration to the operations and the nature of your operations. So you should have a planned inspections of the facility. At the same time, you can have unplanned or surprise inspection and monitoring periodically, which will, the combination of these two will result in a better achievement of the implementation aspect of the standards. Moving further, like as I said, how to start, I put it in the end actually. So whenever, if somebody is planning to start an operation, or when they are planning to start a facility, the first and foremost thing actually, what I understand and what I believe very strongly is the commitment. The commitment from the owner, the commitment from like board, or commitment from the top manager. This commitment determines the level and efficacy of your manufacturing practices. If the owner of the facility or the board of a company or the top management are committed strongly for the implementation aspect of good manufacturing practices, get reflected on the shop floor. It's not the other way around. I always say the hallmark or the signature of a facility, or the hygiene and the best manufacturing practices of a facility, is like an indication and the reflection of the management's commitment. So more you find the standards in place, that means the management is more and more committed to this particular cause. Secondly, when we want to start, after commitment, we should also have an understanding of the standards. There are different standards available. HACCP is there, ISO 20000 is there. So you need to compile and bring all the resources together before they start. Somebody might have started and they want to implement it now, that is also possible. But ideally, if you do it in the beginning, then you are saving a lot of time, resources, and efforts actually. So starting with good manufacturing practices is always very vital in terms of food safety criteria. Moving forward, this is a diagram actually which depicts where the good manufacturing practice or good hygiene practices lie. It's like a small foundation. After that, you are having principle of HACCPs to be put it in place. I think Mr. Richards explained very well about the principle of HACCP. Going further beyond, there is ISO standards, ISO 20000, ISO 9000s, which actually covers the gist of HACCP as well as good manufacturing practice. And a greater circle which envelops the total quality management, where quality becomes your vision, the quality becomes your philosophy. So once the company grown to the level of like total quality management, it will reap the benefit of the total quality and the benefits of the best manufacturing practices in total actually. So this is where you can go and you can move forward as per your availability of resources with you. The ideal step will be to move towards the total quality management. So this was about my presentation about the best manufacturing practices. There were two recommendations actually which I would like to share with all here. In fact, we always feel, Oman has got enough resources and the desire to have a perfect system actually. But we recommend for a nodal authority here, the nodal authority, a single authority, which will control the food standard, which will control the implementation, compliance, and policy on food safety management. These are the if you see in US, they are having US FDA, Saudi Arabia, around few years back, they started Saudi SFDA based on the same pattern of United States. And India have recently embarked upon SSAI. Actually, this is a nodal body for the food safety standards, which covers all aspects of food safety. The second recommendation will be to have a top-level national institute here, which will be dedicated to the research, education, development, training, and to develop a think tank in the country. This particular institute, although we are having a good university, Sultan Qaboos University, and it has got a college there, College of Agriculture and Marine Sciences, and there's a Department of Food Science. But at a higher level for food safety, if there is establishment of a single institute which will be solely dedicated to these aspects, it will be great actually. So this was all about my presentation and a few recommendations which I wanted to make over here. And I think the questions will be shared and discussed in the end of the